Hello to everybody. So I am going to speak mainly about last year and a half, but in the same time we have planned new storages like 20 years or something like that. Okay. For a little over 100 years, the Estonian National Museum has developed a very diverse collection made up of various objects, archival documents, photos, different types of photographic negatives, films, publications, and art. In the autumn of 2016, the museum opened its doors in a new building, and for an ordinary person, museum mean mostly exhibition. For people working in the museum, there are more layers that are hidden from the public. I mean collections, their maintenance, preservation, and also conservation. When we moved to our new home, it was very important to plan a new storage system and to move the collections to new storage sites. The planning of the new storage system has been ongoing for the past 20 years. I started 18 years ago in this museum, and these are papers I made in this very beginning. We didn't know which storages we got, how big, how high, whatever, how much we need. There were other designs for our new building which were never completed. In the interim, the museum's collections were kept in spaces that were adjusted for them. For example, a former courthouse, which was also administrative building since Second World War. We also used 2 churches in Tartu as a storages, quite typical for the Soviet time. The museum pieces were held in narrow places, and it was not possible to follow the principles of good collection maintenance. First, we moved our wooden collection pieces from the churches. 15 years ago, we moved out from churches when a new storages was built on the Raadi Manor complex. It could be said that this was a test in planning the new storage spaces, moving the collections, and later also the collections upkeeping. The size and location of the new storage room in this building were set almost 10 years ago, in the period 2006 and 2008, followed by the planning and design of climate control, furniture, etc. Storages are in basement. This is here we have storages. Here is exhibitions, and here is offices. And the storages are in basement, but only halfway underground. The soil is put around the house. Altogether, we have in this house we have 26 storage rooms. Most of them as big as around 400 square meters, and altogether we have more than 80,000 square meters of storage space here. And the artifacts, of course, are placed into storages depending on material. And the most space needs textiles, and there are 8 big storages planned for different textile items. As I said, 2001, we had our lessons about new storage and moving, but also about expenses to keep climate in storages. In fact, we couldn't afford to pay all the cost. And in this building, we will save money, and therefore we decided for half passive climate. We check humidity, but temperature is at it is. They say that in the winter it could be as low as 10 degrees, but this winter we had 16 degrees, so we don't think it is going so much down. And now about moving. On St. John's Day 2015, the collections were closed to the public. At the same time, the permanent exhibition was closed and the packing of museum pieces began. The closing of the collections was announced year and a half prior because there were about 2,000 researchers a year who were interested to see artifacts. These 2,000 researchers include students, university researchers whose works and studies were related to the museum collections. We can say that no one was thrilled that such a big source of materials that the Estonian National Museum had was closed for a few years. We hear it every day. When are you going to open and so on. The whole moving process was influenced by two factors, time and money, which were both very limited. For packing, we used mainly large banana boxes that were collected for us by all big supermarkets in Tartu. Packed collections were temporarily stored in the building where the old permanent exhibition was. And what we also did, we created a system where every box had a number and a list about the museum pieces that were in every box. The system was created so that we could easily find every museum piece if needed. And of course, we had to find some pieces, which exhibition curators decided to exhibit in a very last moment. It was also very difficult that we have to prepare the exhibition at the same time and move out and pack all together. We also used different color stickers that meant a certain storage room inside the new building in Radi, where the boxes had to be moved. The column system ensured that all the boxes ended up in the right storage room, and it was very easy to sort them when the load arrived. All of the items were packed by collection managers and care professionals. There were no extra positions created for this process. Some words about photographic collections. Packaging are the integral part when moving something. Packaging meant that many museum pieces had to be repacked into papers, envelopes, and boxes suitable for archives. For example, we put more than 2,000 photos and 109,000 photo negatives into acid-free envelopes and covers. For this job, we used mostly volunteers from Estonian Unemployment Office and also from Museum Friends Society. Moving started in the beginning of March 2016. And it was on Saturday when first 4,000 boxes were moved to the new building. And there was museum employees from collection department mainly, but also we had volunteers from Estonian Defence League. And later also Estonian Students' Society, who celebrated their anniversary, they also one day came to the museum and helped us to move. The last load arrived to the museum building in the end of October 2016. I must say we were quite tired in the end, so we started in March and last boxes arrived in October. Some of us used step counters, and more than 2,000 steps one day was regular for us at this time. In conclusion, it took 1 year and 3 months to pack and move all the collections to the new building. Moving was mainly done by museum workers, but we also used volunteers in the process. A moving company was used only a few times. However, it does not mean that the moving process had ended for us. What did we do in the new building? All of woolen textiles had to be frozen before their arrival to the new storage room. All of the boxes have to be unpacked and museum pieces put to their new places. We have to create a new location system and mark it in the museum information system. We also need to make an inventory in big sub-collections, for example, Estonian collection, where is more than 110,000 objects, and also photographic collections, more than 300,000 photos. And the most important thing, we need to open the collection for researchers. We already opened the library this year in March. In the beginning of next year, we plan to open the archive collection, photo collection, and art collection. And reorganizing of object collection will probably take the longest, and we hope to make it available for the researchers in the end of 2019 or beginning of 2020. The moving is much more action than talking, and as here in the museum we document everything. We document Estonian everyday life, we document collections, we document restoration processes, and of course we documented our moving also. And today's people much more like to see movies than to read and talk. So I prepared a little film about our moving, so please.
Thank you very much. It was a very interesting film. And I was previously a little bit mistaken. We are not only rock stars, but also film stars. Any questions?
Thank you for your presentation. I just wanted to ask you about the moving of the collections, planning the move. What sort of formula did you use when you planned the future storage areas? Did you think much about, growing the collections? Did you take that into consideration?
Yes, it was actually very difficult when you are pressed so tight as we were. So it was not so easy to plan how much we need when you put everything nicely. And then we also need something for the future. So we actually just, we just decided we need as much and we got it. There was discussions that the house should be smaller in the meanwhile, but it didn't happen. So actually now I think we have a nice place for next 30 years, maybe,
Right.
if we don't collect very much.
And did you experience that some of the parts of the collection, they can exploded in your new storage? So they, for example, before they were quite compactly packed, and when you brought them here, they suddenly took much more space?
Yeah, especially textiles, because we for example, before we had maybe 10, 20 hats in one box. Now everyone has own box.
Yeah.
So it needs much more space. Yes.
Thank you. Good luck with the next 40 years.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Well, seems no. Thank you very much.